Welcome to part 1 of the Docker interview pack, The Essentials. These are 5 of the most asked Docker interview questions, climbing from very easy to genuinely hard. Here's how this works. One slide is the question, the next is the answer. So when you see a question, pause and answer it out loud before I reveal it. The first 3 are warm-ups. The last 2 separate juniors from real Docker engineers. Let's see how far you get. Question 1. Very easy, the single most common Docker question there is. What is the difference between an image and a container? Pause here and answer it out loud before I show the answer. The answer. An image is a read-only template, a blueprint built from a Docker file sitting on disk made of stacked layers. A container is a running instance of that image, a live process with a thin writable layer on top. The key line: one image can spin up many containers. The image is the recipe. The container is the dish. Question 2. Easy. How is a container different from a virtual machine? This one trips people who use the words interchangeably. Pause and answer. The answer. A virtual machine virtualizes hardware. It runs a full guest operating system with its own kernel on a hypervisor, heavy gigabytes, boots in minutes. A container shares the host kernel and just isolates a single process, lightweight, megabytes, starts in milliseconds. The one-liner: a container is process isolation, not hardware virtualization. And the trade-off: VMs give stronger isolation. Containers give speed and density. Question 3. Medium. In a Dockerfile, what is the difference between command and ENTRYPOINT? This is where interviews start filtering. Pause and answer. The answer: both define what runs when the container starts. Command sets the default command and arguments, and it's easily overridden. Anything you pass to Docker run replaces it. ENTRYPOINT sets the fixed executable that always runs, and run arguments are appended to it. The pattern that shows you really get it: ENTRYPOINT is the binary, commands it into it. The pattern that shows you really get it: ENTRYPOINT is the binary probe in changing the program. Quick checkpoint. If you answered the first 3, nice, but those were the easy half. The questions almost anyone using Docker can handle. Here's the honest line: if you call yourself a Docker engineer, you should be able to answer the last 2. This is exactly where juniors and pros split. The difficulty is about to jump. Question 4 is hard. Question 5 is genuinely tough. Question 4. Hard. How does Docker's build cache actually work? And how do you order a Docker file to take advantage of it? This is a real engineer's question. It's about builds that take seconds instead of minutes. Pause and answer. The answer. Every instruction creates a layer, and Docker caches those layers. On a rebuild, it reuses them in order until the first instruction whose inputs changed, and from there down, it rebuilds everything. So order your Dockerfile stable to volatile, copy your dependency manifest, and install dependencies before copying your source. So when only your code changes, the expensive dependency layer stays cached. The extras that win the point: a .docker in your so stray files don't bust the cache. Combining Chedge builds for a small final image. Question 5. Very hard. The expert question. Under the hood, how does a container actually isolate a process? No analogies here. They want the real Linux mechanics. This is the one that proves you understand what a container truly is. Pause and give it your best shot. The container is an ordinary Linux process on the host, made to look isolated by 3 kernel features. Namespaces control what it can see: PID, network mount, UTS, IPsystem. USA, groups control what it can use, limiting CPU, memory, and I/AO. And a union, or overlay, file system stacks the read-only image layers plus they am write and tying it GO. And a union, or overlay, file system stacks the read-only image layers plus 8 post retires. So how many did you get? 1 or 2 is a solid start. 3 is good, 4 is strong. And if you nailed all 5, including the internals, honestly, hire this person. Drop your score in the comments and tell me which question you'd like explained in full. Every one of these has a complete episode in the Docker Explained series. To learn Docker the easy way, subscribe to the channel. And next up in this pack is part 2, images and builds.